Hello everyone. Today I will explain every Formula E track in alphabetical order. With no further ado, let's begin. Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is a 4.304 kilometers, 2.674 miles motorsport racetrack in Mexico City, Mexico. Named after the racing drivers Ricardo Rodriguez, 1942 to 1962, and Pedro Rodriguez, 1940 to 1971. The circuit got its current name in 1979 after Ricardo Rodriguez died in practice for the non-championship 1962 Mexican Grand Prix, and his brother Pedro was also killed behind the wheel 9 years later. The circuit is located within the public park of the Magdalena Mixhuca Sports City in southeast Mexico City. The circuit is owned by the government of the city, but is currently operated under concession by Corporación Interamericana de Entretenimiento, CIE. Built in the Magdalena Mixhuca Public Park in 1959, the circuit hosted its first Formula One Grand Prix in 1962 as a non-championship race. The following year, the Mexican Grand Prix became a full World Championship event. The circuit remained part of the F1 calendar through 1970, when spectator overcrowding caused unsafe conditions. When F1 returned in 1986, the circuit boasted a new pit complex, as well as improved safety all around, but left again after 1992 due to safety concerns. In 2001, CIE and Forsyth Racing tasked D3 Motorsport Development with revamping the circuit. A redesign to include the foro and a complete upgrade of the circuit was done. It saw a record crowd of 402,413 people attend a round of the kart championship in 2002. It was announced in May 2012 that the circuit would again host the Mexican Grand Prix from 2013, in a 5-year deal that would see it replace the European Grand Prix in Valencia, but this did not happen. The FIA listed the Mexican Grand Prix as the 19th round of the provisional schedule for the 2014 season, but it was not on the final schedule. The Mexican Grand Prix was listed on the 2015 Formula One calendar published by the FIA on the 3rd of December, 2014, with Formula One making its return to the circuit with the race on the 1st of November, 2015. The racetrack is also home to Electric Daisy Carnival, EDC Mexico, a music festival attended by over 200,000 people. Battersea Park Street Circuit. Battersea Park Street Circuit was a motor racing circuit located in Battersea Park, London, England from 2015 to 2016. It hosted the final 2 races of the 2014-15 Formula E season, and also the second season. The track was 2.925 kilometers, 1.818 miles in length and featured 17 turns. There was controversy over circuit's installation in a Grade 2 * listed park. And it was announced in 2016 that the Formula E race would not be held there again. The track was designed by Formula E's London event team and British architect Simon Gibbons. Wandsworth Council approved of the circuit and the double race on the 19th of February, 2015. The circuit was criticised for being too narrow and too bumpy, with Jerome D'Ambrosio suffering broken suspension. A last-minute change to Turn 1 had to be implemented and the race had to be started under a pace car. There was controversy over the park circuit taking place in a Grade 2 * listed park, with opposition to the disruption the races and subsequent build period would cause to a free public space. Around the race weekends, a majority of the park was closed to the public for 4 days with a 3-week disruption period. The local community set up a group to oppose any further races in the park. On June 26, 2015, Boris Johnson, who was Mayor of London at the time, drove the Sparkrano SRT_01E around the circuit in an effort to promote the E-Prix. In June 2016, Formula E announced that, on the basis of understanding between Formula East and the Battersea Park Action Group, Formula E would not return. Beijing Olympic Green Circuit. Beijing Olympic Green Circuit was a street circuit in Beijing, China, which was first used on the 13th of September, 2014 during the first E-Prix of Formula E. It ran around the grounds of the Olympic Stadium used in the 2008 Summer Olympics. The track featured 20 turns, and at 3.453 kilometers, 2.146 miles, was still the longest track currently used in Formula E. Choosing the location and designing the track was done by designer Rodrigo Nunes. For the second E-Prix, the track layout was lightly modified. The first chicane, previously turns 3, 4, and 5, has been removed, with the second chicane taking a tighter profile than last year. Drivers believe that the modified layout offers increased chances of overtaking. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Berlin Street Circuit. The Berlin Street Circuit is a 2.030 kilometers, 1.261 miles street circuit located along the Karl-Marx-Allee in Berlin, Germany. It is used for the Berlin eprix. It was only used on the 21st of May, 2016 during the 2016 Berlin eprix. Bern Street Circuit. The temporary 2.750 kilometers Bern Street Circuit was made up of city streets in the de facto capital of Switzerland. The 14-turn track wound through the Old Town portion of the city, past Rosengarten Park and the Bärengraben, Bear Pit. The narrow track was noted for its elevation changes, with almost the entire track being on an incline or decline. Jaguar racing driver Mitch Evans said ahead of the race that he thought it was a real, hardcore street circuit. I think it's going to be a complete roller coaster. Other challenges of the circuit that drivers noted include variations in the tarmac surface and road camber, as well as several sharp corners and chicanes. Additionally, several drivers remarked about narrowness of the circuit and the difficulty for overtaking. The combination of steep hills, sharp corners, and length. Bern was the second longest track on the 2018-19 calendar. Meant that managing energy with the regenerative braking would be a real test for the drivers. The confined spaces in the Old City also added logistical challenges for the teams. T.E indoor paddock area, where teams prepare the cars before the race, was located 800 meters away from the pit lane. The Bern Street Circuit is the only circuit on the Formula E calendar that necessitates an uphill start, Lorbeckstrasse, and features turns and roads with uneven camber from left to right. The steepest downhill section on the entire calendar, Argaustolden and Schosshaldenstrasse, as well as a live bear pit, though the bears would be absent during race time. Biscayne Bay Street Circuit. Biscayne Bay Street Circuit was a street circuit which was only used on the 14th of March, 2015 for the 2015 Miami eprix of Formula E. The track is located in the heart of downtown Miami, running along the coast of Biscayne Bay, in addition to making its way underneath the MacArthur Causeway and around the American Airlines Arena, the home of NBA basketball team Miami Heat. The track features 8 turns. Production of the temporary street circuit was done by track design company AISA. Brooklyn Street Circuit. The Brooklyn Street Circuit was a street circuit in the Red Hook neighborhood of the New York City borough of Brooklyn, adjacent to the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal along Brooklyn's western coast. It was created for the New York City eprix of the single-seater, electrically powered Formula E Championship. Its first use was during the 2016-17 Formula E season when it hosted the 2017 New York City eprix. Following the last known kart PPG Cup races in the New York metropolitan area in the 1980s, there have been several failed attempts to establish a race in or near New York City for a major automobile series. In September 2016, New York City and Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, FIA, officials announced the establishment of a 2017 event in the city for Formula E, with the Red Hook location selected over other potential sites including Central Park. The course was situated at the west end of the Red Hook neighborhood in western Brooklyn, adjacent to the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal and the Atlantic Basin, the small body of water within the upper New York Bay served by the terminal. The site was bound by the east to west portion of Bound Street, the Red Hook Container Terminal, and the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel to the north, and by Walcott Street to the south. The original configuration of the circuit measured 1.220 miles, 1.963 kilometers in length and consisted of 13 corners. The course predominantly follows the existing layout of the streets and parking areas of the terminal, separated from the rest of the street plan of Red Hook. The main and second straights utilize the north-south stretch of Bound Street, which turns south after entering the terminal area, adjacent to Pier 11 of the terminal. The track offers views of the lower Manhattan skyline and the Statue of Liberty. Prior to its inaugural running, driver Felix Rosenqvist described the track as one of those really technical circuits, comparable to the Circuit des Invalides on the streets of Paris. For the 2018 race, the circuit was lengthened to 1.475 miles, 2.374 kilometers, extending the course farther north and west to Summit Street and Hamilton Avenue. As opposed to the original right-hand hairpin at the end of the main straight on Bound Street, a 4-turn complex was added featuring a left-hander and 3 right-hand turns leading to the second straight. The changes were made to accommodate the second-generation Formula E car. Cape Town Street Circuit. Cape Town Street Circuit was a 2.921 kilometers, 1.815 miles, street circuit laid out on the city streets of Cape Town, South Africa. It hosted the Cape Town eprix from 2023 Formula E season. The track was initially planned to be included in the 2022 Formula E calendar. However, the race was cancelled. When the provisional calendar of 2023 Formula E season was announced firstly, The circuit was not officially listed on the calendar and was considered to be added in. Following the approval of FIA World Motorsport Council in October 2022, the circuit was officially listed on the 2023 Formula E calendar. On the 4th of March, 2022, the track layout was revealed, which will be located in Cape Town's waterfront district, around the Cape Town Stadium. It is believed that the track would be one of the fastest circuits on the calendar. The racing lap record has an average speed of 150.78 km per hour, 93.69 miles per hour. Circuit International Automobile Moulay El Hassan. The Circuit International Automobile Moulay El Hassan, also known as Marrakesh Street Circuit and Marrakesh Racetrack, is a semi-permanent street circuit in Agdal District, Marrakesh, Morocco. The circuit is operated by MGP. It has a capacity of 10,000 spectators. MGP's partner in Morocco, D3 Motorsport Development, was given the responsibility of the design of the street circuit. It is the same architect company that designed the Surfers Paradise Street Circuit in Australia. Group Manara oversaw the construction on the Route de Alurica of a Boulevard Mohammed-based track. The paddock had been paved alongside the walls of the Royal Garden, and more than 2,500 concrete impact blocks. And many debris fence panels had been put in place to bound the track. The third round of the 2009 WTCC season was held there on the 3rd of May, 2009, becoming the first international car race in Morocco since the .1958 Moroccan Grand Prix at the Ain Diab circuit in Casablanca. And the first event for the WTCC in Africa. The original circuit had a very simple layout. It was a 4.545 kilometers, 2.824 miles, flat oval circuit with a hairpin at one end and chicanes punctuating the straights, running in an anti-clockwise direction. In December 2015, it was announced the circuit would undergo a major overhaul to make it more challenging. Only half of the original circuit was utilized when the new layout came into effect for the 2016 FIA WTCC race of Morocco. Circuito Cittadino del Euro. The Circuito Cittadino del Euro was a street circuit located in the EUR neighborhood in Rome, Italy. It was used for the Rome eprix. It was first used on the 14th of April, 2018 for the 2018 Rome eprix. The track was firstly 2.849 kilometers, 1.770 miles in length and features 21 turns. It started at Via Cristoforo Colombo and finished at the Marconi Obelisk, passing by the Rome Convention Center and the Palazzo dei Congressi. A circuit around the EUR district was previously proposed to host a Formula One Grand Prix in both 1985 and 2009. On the 3rd of February, 2021, a new and longer layout was announced for the circuit, which is 3.385 kilometers, 2.103 miles in length and features 19 turns. Also, both the start straight and finish straight were changed. This layout provided longer and faster straights in order to improve opportunities for overtaking. Excel London Circuit. The Formula E London eprix was held with two back-to-back races at Excel. In July 2021, with part of the circuit running around the arena and part of the circuit in the exhibition hall itself. It was also due to be held in 2020. However, the event was cancelled after the Excel was repurposed as a temporary NHS hospital named NHS Nightingale, to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. It held the final two rounds of the 2022-23 Formula E World Championship, after holding the penultimate round in 2022. Haitang Bay Circuit. The Haitang Bay Circuit is a street circuit located in the Haitang Bay area of Sonia, in the Chinese island of Hainan. It was used for the Sonia eprix on the 23rd of March, 2019. The track was 2.236 kilometers, 1.389 miles in length and featured 11 turns. Prior to the race, it was decided to treat the track surface with a resin-type material, in a bid to prevent a repeat of the previous round in Santiago, which saw the track break up during the race due to the high temperatures. Homestead Miami Speedway. Homestead Miami Speedway, formerly known as the Homestead Motorsports Complex from 1995 to 1998, is a 1.500 miles, 2.414 kilometers, oval-shaped intermediate speedway in Homestead, Florida. It has hosted various major auto racing series throughout its existence, including NASCAR, IndyCar, and FIA GT Championship. The facility has a capacity of 43,000 as of 2019. Along with the main oval track, the facility features a road course layout that uses parts of the oval along with a specially designed infield road course. Homestead Miami Speedway is owned by the City of Homestead, operated by NASCAR, and led by track president Guillermo Santa Cruz. Hong Kong Central Harbourfront Circuit. The Hong Kong Central Harbourfront Circuit is a street circuit on the Central Harbourfront on Hong Kong Island, Hong Kong, facing the Victoria Harbour. The A1.860 kilometres (1.156 miles) layout was used between 2016 and 2019 for the Hong Kong eprix. Its first use was on the 9th of October, 2016, as the opening eprix of the 2016-17 Formula E season, and its last use being in the 10th of March, 2019. The circuit had been used to hold the Hong Kong eprix in 2016, 2017, and 2019. A total of 4 races were held on this circuit in the 2016-17 season, 2017-18 season, and the 2018-19 season. The circuit failed to meet regulations set forth by the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, FIA. FIA regulations require tracks to be 2.2 kilometres (1.4 miles) long, but the Hong Kong Central Harbourfront circuit was only 1.860 kilometres (1.156 miles) long. The FIA required Hong Kong to extend the circuit to 2.2 kilometres (1.4 miles) for the 2019-20 season, in which 2 more teams were expected to enter the eprix. Lawrence Yu, governor of the Hong Kong Automobile Association, cited difficulties in extending the track to the west as the Hong Kong station on the western side of the circuit links up the city with the airport. An extension to the east of the circuit through a tunnel was considered too dangerous. Hyderabad Street Circuit. Hyderabad Street Circuit was a 2.835 kilometres (1.762 miles) street circuit laid out on the streets of Hyderabad, Telangana, India. The track was set up in and around the Secretariat complex and went through Lumbini Park, situated on the banks of Hussain Sagar Lake. The Hyderabad eprix was staged on the circuit in 2023. It was held as part of the 2022-23 Formula E World Championship season. And was the first Formula E race held in the country. Hyderabad was one of a number of Indian cities bidding to host a round of the FIA Formula E World Championship, although it was only seriously considered after the COVID-19 pandemic had halted the discussions between the FIA and proposed hosts in Delhi and Mumbai. On the 17th of January, 2022, the government of Telangana signed a letter of intent with Formula E to stage the Hyderabad eprix, with a planned debut as a round of the 2022-23 season towards the start of the season. The Hyderabad eprix was subsequently listed on the first provisional calendar for 2022-23 as the 4th round of the season, with an initial date of the 11th of February, 2023. Besides Formula E, it was also planned for Hyderabad Street Circuit to host races for the Formula Regional Indian Championship and the F4 Indian Championship. However, both championships were cancelled in 2022. After the cancellation of those championships, the circuit was scheduled to host 2 rounds of the new Indian Racing League in 2022 as a test before Formula E's debut. The first of these events was cancelled following the opening practice session after a driver broke their leg in a crash, but this was not communicated to patrons or the outside world until after the event was scheduled to conclude. The Indian Racing League returned for its season finale 3 weeks later, with Alistair Young and Nikhil Bora winning all 3 races for the Godspeed Kochi franchise. Ahead of the 2023 Hyderabad eprix, a chicane was added at the Hussain Sagar corner to reduce speeds, as the runoff area could not be extended. Jean-Eric Verne emerged victorious for DS Penske, holding off a fast-finishing Nick Cassidy as both Jaguar Racing drivers collided at the hairpin. The Indian Racing League was scheduled to return to the circuit as the 2023 season opener, but was moved to the Madras International Circuit due to local elections. Hyderabad Motor Racing Pvt Limited constructed the first ever street race circuit certified by the FIA in India. The racetrack starting position was across from the NTR Garden, from where it would pass via NTR Marg and IMAX Road. Before returning to the starting point in a loop. The track is 11 metres 36 feet wide on average. For the competing teams, a total of 12 FIA pit garages are being constructed close to the IMAX turning. Jakarta International eprix Circuit. The Jakarta International eprix Circuit was a 2.370 kilometres (1.473 miles) racing circuit in Ancol, Jakarta, Indonesia. It is built for the Jakarta eprix. The first edition of Jakarta eprix was held here in 2022. The proposal of the Jakarta eprix was first announced in July 2019, with mid-2020 announced as the target date for an inaugural race. The originally intended location, the National Monument and the Merdeka Square, was rejected along with a proposal for the use of the Gelora Bung Karno Stadium. Originally, there were 5 options being proposed: Jenderal Sudirman Street, Indah Park Beach, Jakarta International Expo, Jakarta International Stadium, and the Ancol region, with the Ancol region being announced as the location in January 2022. This circuit had been under construction in 2022. In January 2022, the governor of Jakarta, Anies Baswedan, inaugurated the Jakarta International eprix Circuit. The track's construction was completed a week before the eprix week. Jarama eprix, Madrid eprix. The Madrid eprix is a planned race of Formula E held in Madrid, Spain. It will be held for the first time as part of the 2025-26 season. Formula E has had a presence in Spain since the 2017-18 season, when the official pre-season testing session was moved from its previous home at Donington Park to Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Chest, roughly 25 kilometers from Valencia. Prior to that season, several teams had also used other Spanish circuits for testing purposes such as Circuit de Calafat and Circuito Guadix. However, the first official eprix in Spain didn't come until 2021, when Circuit Ricardo Tormo hosted a double-header on the 24th and the 25th of April, as a replacement for several cancelled rounds due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This was also the first race to take place on a permanent circuit in series history. In November 2024, due to devastating flooding that affected the Valencian community and surrounding areas, the series was forced to move its pre-season test from its usual location at Circuit Ricardo Tormo to Circuito del Jarama. In June 2025, Circuito del Jarama was announced as one of the venues on the 2025-26 calendar, with the first eprix scheduled to take place on the 21st of March, 2026. The race is set to be held at Circuito del Jarama in San Sebastián de los Reyes, roughly 30 kilometers north of Madrid. The circuit had previously hosted the Spanish Grand Prix 9 times between 1968 and 1981, as part of the Formula One World Championship. Jeddah eprix. The Jeddah eprix is held in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. It was first held as part of the 2024-25 season. The Saudi Arabian round was previously held in Diriyah 6 times from 2018 to 2024, as the first Formula E event held in the Middle East. In September 2024, it was confirmed that the race would be moved to Jeddah in 2025. The race was held at the Jeddah Corniche Circuit in Jeddah, the same venue used by the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Formula One. The track layout for the Formula E eprix was shortened to 3.001 kilometers, 1.865 miles, with the addition of a hairpin connecting turn 3 to turn 22 on the F1 layout, and 4 chicanes placed on the front and back straightaways. Long Beach eprix. The Long Beach eprix was an annual race of Formula E, held in Long Beach, United States. It was raced in the 2014-15 and the 2015-16 seasons. A modified version of the Long Beach Grand Prix track was used for this eprix. The track was 2.131 kilometers, 1.324 miles in length and featured 7 turns. Miami eprix. The Miami eprix is an annual race of Formula E, held in Miami, Florida, United States. It was first held in Biscayne Bay in the 2014-15 season, as the first race of 2 in the United States that year, the other being the Long Beach eprix. It did not return to the calendar for the following season. In June 2024, it was confirmed that the race would return in the 2024-25 Formula E World Championship, with the venue changed to Homestead, on the road course of the Homestead Miami Speedway. For the 2025-26 season, the Miami eprix will move to the Miami International Autodrome, the host of the Formula One Miami Grand Prix. The Biscayne Bay Street Circuit was used by Formula E on March 14, 2015 for the 2015 Miami eprix. The track was located in the heart of downtown Miami, running along the coast of Biscayne Bay, in addition to making its way underneath the MacArthur Causeway and around the American Airlines Arena, the home of NBA basketball team Miami Heat. The eprix was only held once at the venue, as the event was cancelled after 1 year for undisclosed reasons. For the return in 2025, the race moved to a modified road course configuration of the Homestead Miami Speedway. The layout has a tighter corner radius at turn 1, and a left-right chicane placed on the backstretch of the speedway, the layout of the Homestead Miami Speedway that was used in 2025. The Miami eprix will be moved to the Miami International Autodrome in 2026, the same venue that hosts the Miami Grand Prix. Misano. The 2024 Misano eprix was a pair of motor races, the 6th and 7th rounds of the 2023-24 Formula E World Championship, held on the 13th and the 14th of April 2024. It was the first and only running of the Misano eprix, an event held around the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, replacing the Rome eprix on the Formula E calendar. Formula E has raced in Italy since 2018, with the Rome eprix taking place at the Circuito Cittadino del Euro. However, following a review by experts following a multi-car pile-up crash in the 2023 edition, it was decided that a new Italian venue should be found. Multiple other tracks were considered by Formula E, such as Imola Circuit and Vallelunga Circuit. On the 22nd of November, 2023, it was announced that the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli would host the new Italian race in the 2023-24 season, with a doubleheader weekend. On the 23rd of February, 2024, it was announced that a specific layout would be built and used for the Formula E race, in which the layout will have 3.381 kilometers, 2.101 miles length and 14 turns. Monaco. On the 18th of September, 2014, it was announced the Formula E would be racing on a shorter 1.760 kilometers, 1.094 miles version of the Monaco circuit, which was used for the 2014-15, 2016-17, and 2018-19 seasons. This layout omitted the regular section of the track between the climb up the hill at Beau Rivage and the Nouvelle Chicane at the exit of the tunnel, instead turning right immediately after Saint-Devote to head downhill, before rejoining the regular layout by way of a 180-degree turn. Monaco was not scheduled to be on the calendar for the second season of Formula E because it took the slot on the calendar filled by the historic Grand Prix at Monaco every other year. The inaugural Paris E-Prix took its spot on the calendar for Season 2, with the Monaco E-Prix reinstated for Season 3. This biennial agreement continued until after Formula E's fifth season. A new track layout was used for the 2021 Monaco E-Prix. The layout is similar to the Formula 1 layout, with only slight differences at turns 1, Saint-Devote, and 11, Nouvelle Chicane. This new layout has a length of 3.318 kilometers, 2.062 miles, the distance of the track being increased due to the increase in car performance and range of Gen 2 cars. The 2022 Monaco E-Prix saw the race run on the full track layout and has used the regular layout since 2022. Montreal Street Circuit. The Montreal Street Circuit was a temporary street circuit in Montreal, Canada. It was located in the southeast portion of the downtown area, with its main straight on René Levesque Boulevard. The track is 2.745 kilometers, 1.706 miles, long and features 14 turns. It was used for the Montreal E-Prix of the Formula E Championship. It was used during the 2016-17 Formula E season but has not been used since. Moscow Street Circuit. Moscow Street Circuit was a street circuit which was used on the 6th of June, 2015 during the 2015 Moscow E-Prix. The layout placed the track adjacent to the Kremlin, with the main straight running along the Moskva River. Other sites along the track include the Staraya Square, the Red Square, the Moscow Gostinny Dvor, and St. Basil's Cathedral. Circuit des Invalides. The Circuit des Invalides was a street circuit located around Les Invalides in Paris, France. It was used for the Paris E-Prix of Formula E. It was first used on the 23rd of April, 2016 for the 2016 Paris E-Prix. The track was 1.93 kilometers, 1.20 miles in length and featured 14 turns. It went clockwise around Les Invalides with the Musée de l'Armée and the Tomb of Napoleon. The pit lane was located along the Esplanade des Invalides, north of Les Invalides. It was characterized by a slippery surface and a short section at turn 3 with new tarmac temporarily placed over the cobblestones. Portland. The Portland International Raceway was home to the event. And unlike other FE races at permanent circuits such as Valencia, there were no major changes to the circuit layout, although the barrier at the entrance to the Shelton Chicane was extended to tighten turn 1. With the E-Prix debuting in 2023, this marked the third auto race held at PIR alongside IndyCar's Grand Prix of Portland and the NASCAR Xfinity Series Pacific Office Automation 147. Pueblo Circuit. The Autodromo Internacional Miguel E. Abed, Puebla Racetrack, is a motorsport racetrack located in Amozoc, 30 km, 19 miles, east of Puebla City, in the Mexican state of Puebla. The circuit has a capacity for 42,500 spectators. It was opened in 1985 and considered to be one of Mexico's premier racing facilities. It features a road course and a 2.060 kilometers, 1.280 miles oval. The track held 3 World Touring Car Championship events in 2005, 2006 and 2008. On the 22nd of April, 2021, it was announced that Autodromo Miguel E. Abed would host a Formula E race in Mexico instead of Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, since it is still being used as a field hospital due to the COVID-19 pandemic in Mexico. The event would be called as Puebla E-Prix and it would be held on the dates of 19 to 20 June 2021. On the 14th of June, 2021, the Formula E circuit layout was revealed, in which the layout was very similar to the WTCC layout except following a tighter hairpin after T3 and rejoining the WTCC layout at T6 within an infield loop. And also the layout included attack mode activation zone as the Joker lap alternate route, different than other Formula E circuits. Puerto Madero Street Circuit. The Puerto Madero Street Circuit was a street circuit located in Puerto Madero, Buenos Aires. It was used for the first time on the 10th of January, 2015 for the 4th eprix of Formula E. The track was 2.480 kilometers, 1.541 miles in length and featured 12 turns. The circuit was designed by Santiago Garcia Ramoji. The circuit was the only venue to have featured in the first 3 seasons. However, it did not feature in the 4th season. Punta del Este Street Circuit. Punta del Este Street Circuit was a street circuit located on the seashore of Punta del Este, Uruguay. The Argentine TC 2000 Championship hosted 3 races at Punta del Este in 2007, 2008 and 2010. The Formula E has hosted the Punta del Este eprix at the venue. The first edition was held on the 13th of December, 2014 during the 2014-15 season. The track had 2.808 kilometers, 1.745 miles in length and featured 20 turns. For Season 2, the circuit was slightly modified. The first corner was changed. Instead of a right-left chicane, it is now left-right. The idea behind this change is to make the pit exit much safer than last year, where the cars were exiting the pits on the racing line. This also slightly reduced the lap length to 2.785 kilometers, 1.731 miles. Putrajaya Street Circuit. Putrajaya Street Circuit was a street circuit which was first used on 22 November 2014 during the 2nd eprix of Formula E. The start and finish straight ran on one of the major highway Perjuran-Padana, or Putrajaya Boulevard. And just north of the circuit is the Padana Putra housing the Prime Minister's office. The track was 2.560 kilometers, 1.591 miles in length and featured 12 turns. It was designed by British architect Simon Gibbons, who brought experience of 9 years with FOM as circuit planning manager. And more recently played a significant role in the rowing and canoeing venue for the London .2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games. Riyadh Street Circuit. The Riyadh Street Circuit was a street circuit located in the capital of Saudi Arabia, used for the Ad Diriyah eprix of the FIA Formula E Championship. It held its first race on the 15th of December, 2018, as the opening race of the 2018-19 FIA Formula E Championship. In May 2018, ahead of the 2018 Berlin eprix, it was announced that Formula E Holdings had signed a deal with the Saudi Arabian government for a race to be held in the outskirts of the Saudi Arabian capital of Riyadh in the Ad Diriyah district for 10 years. The design was first unveiled on the 25th of September, 2018 at the Governorate of Diriyah, with the design calling for a 2.847 kilometers, 1.769 miles long track. The final track layout was shortened to 2.495 kilometers, 1.550 miles, and it features a distinctive second sector, with its tight corners being unique to the track in the Formula E Championship. Before the 2021 race, the track was revised and resurfaced with reprofiling turn 9, 13, 18, 19, and moving the start straight before the turn 18. Park O'Higgins Circuit. The Park O'Higgins Circuit was an 11-turn, 2.287 kilometers, 1.421 miles long temporary street circuit located in the city of Santiago, Chile, and was used for the Santiago eprix. Its first use came on the 26th of January, 2019, when it hosted the 2019 Santiago eprix, and replaced the previous Santiago street circuit as the venue of the race. Santiago had always been expected to host the 3rd round of the 2018-19 championship, but the race remained without an assigned location while FE and city officials negotiated term to return and hold a second event, following the success of the inaugural race. However, a new layout was made necessary after logistical challenges were encountered at the inaugural race, which faced intense opposition from local residents due to its use of roads through Santiago's Forestier Park. As such, plans were made to relocate the race to the O'Higgins Park in a bid to reduce the disruption to local residents during the race. The original layout of the circuit was a 14-turn, 2.348 kilometers, 1.459 miles long track, and consisted of the roads inside of the O'Higgins Park, running around the Movistar Arena. During the second running of the race at the circuit, the 2020 Santiago eprix, numerous changes to the track layout were made, most notably at the curving backstraight, where the tight chicane was removed, while the pit lane was moved to the other side of the track, to the inside of the circuit. In addition, the sweeping right-hander, which was the former turn 1, was modified, with a new left-hander being added ahead of the former first turn. The final sector of the lap was also removed, with the zigzag section of the track being reversed compared to the previous year. The removal of the chicane came as Formula E looked to reduce the number of chicanes on the tracks in the championship. Santiago Street Circuit. The Santiago Street Circuit was a temporary street circuit located in the city of Santiago, Chile. It was used for the Santiago on the 3rd of February, 2018 for the 2018 Santiago eprix. The track was 2.462 kilometers, 1.530 miles in length, with 12 turns. It started in Avenue Santa Maria, in the northern side of the Mapocho River, crossing it on Pio Nono Bridge. After rounding Plaza Baquedano, it took the Alameda, Santiago's main avenue, to the west until reaching the Gabriela Mistral Cultural Center, where it turned back to the east and then crossed the Parque Forestial. After following Cardinal Caro Avenue, it turned back to the north in front of the Chilean National Museum of Fine Arts and crossed the river again, returning to the start point. São Paulo Street Circuit. The São Paulo Street Circuit is a street circuit in São Paulo, Brazil, which hosted the São Paulo Indy 300 from 2010 to 2013, and the São Paulo eprix since 2023. The street circuit racetrack was laid out in the Santana district. The circuit was along the Sambadrome of Anhembi and utilized portions of the Marginal Tier service drive. The circuit hosted the São Paulo Indy 300 for 4 years, 2010 to 2013. The track was 4.081 kilometers, 2.536 miles, long and consisted of 11 turns. Even though it was a temporary circuit, it still had a permanent seating capacity of 30,000 people as it passes through the Anhembi Sambadrome. A Formula E race was planned in 2018. However, in November 2017, it was announced that the São Paulo eprix would be postponed to the 2018 to 2019 Formula E season. After several postponements, the contract was finally signed on the 30th of April, 2022 for 5 years. The site hosted the inaugural São Paulo eprix in the 25th of March, 2023 as part of the 2022 to 23 Formula E season. The track has 2.933 kilometers, 1.822 miles length and uses a good part of the original IndyCar circuit. The green flag is located inside the Anhembi Sambadrome. Sol Street Circuit. Sol Street Circuit was a 2.618 kilometers, 1.627 miles street circuit laid out on the city streets of Seoul, South Korea. It hosted the Seoul eprix as the last race of 2022 Formula E season. In 2004, before Formula E was founded, the American-based Champ Car, formerly CART, World Series was planning a race in Asia, with South Korea being a potential location for a date on the 2004 calendar, being a street race in Hangang Park in the capital of Seoul. The race was supposed to be held on October 16th, the week before the Lexmark Indy 300 in Surfers Paradise, Australia. The race was cancelled due to track construction being behind schedule. The race never returned on the provisional schedule in 2005 and instead planned to race in nearby Ansan. Unlike the proposed one at Seoul, the race was also scheduled to be on October 16th ahead of the race at Surfers Paradise. The race was cancelled in 2005 and 2006, and the site became part of a set for the South Korean version of Top Gear. The race did not come back on the provisional 2007 schedule, and in February of 2008, Champ Car and its competitor IndyCar merged. And in the mid-2010s, the track was demolished for apartments. A Champ Car race in South Korea never happened. In 2010, Formula One raced in Yeongam, 400 kilometers, 200 miles away from Seoul until 2013. The race did not come back for 2014. On the 30th of November, 2018, Formula E CEO, Alejandro Agag signed an agreement to hold the Seoul eprix from 2020 to 2025. The track was initially planned to be included in both 2020 Formula E calendar and 2021 Formula E calendar. However, the race was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For the 2020 season, the race was planned to be held on the 3rd of May, 2020. And for the 2021 season, the race was provisionally planned to be held on the 23rd of May, 2021. After the cancellation of races in both 2 years due to the global pandemic, it was agreed to hold the race in August 2022. After that, it was officially listed to hold the final round of the 2022 calendar. In 2022, the eprix was successfully held at the revised layout of the circuit. The races of eprix were won by Mitch Evans and Eduardo Mortara, while Stoffel Vandoorne was crowned as the champion of the 2021-22 Formula E World Championship. Even before the 2022 race, the circuit was listed on the provisional calendar of 2023 Formula E season. However, due to the renovation works of the Seoul Olympic Stadium, the event would not be able to take place and the circuit was dropped from the 2023 Formula E calendar in October 2022. On the 23rd of July, 2018, a feasibility study on candidate areas including Gwanghwamun in Seoul was completed. As a result of the survey, the popular tourist area around Gwanghwamun Square and City Hall Square was selected as a candidate region. Then, the proposed 2.800 kilometers (1.740 miles) layout was revealed in July 2019, which was located around the Seoul Olympic Stadium and some part of the track was inside of this stadium. Before the 2022 race, the circuit layout was still located within the Jamsil Sport Complex. However, the layout was revised and shortened from 2.800 to 2.618 kilometers (1.740 to 1.627 miles). Shanghai International Circuit. The race is being held on the Shanghai International Circuit, the same venue that hosts Formula One's Chinese Grand Prix. The track layout has been altered to remove the long back straight, instead cutting across from Turn 9 to the pit straight with a chicane beforehand. Tempelhof Airport Street Circuit. The Tempelhof Airport Street Circuit is a street circuit located at the former Berlin Tempelhof Airport in Germany. It is home to the Formula E Berlin ePrix. It hosted its first race as Round 8 of the 2014-15 Formula E season. After not holding a race in 2016, the venue has been used again since 2017. The 2.469 kilometers (1.534 miles) anti-clockwise original track featured 17 turns and was designed by Rodrigo Nunes. Venturi driver Nick Heidfeld described the circuit as follows: "It looks like it's going to be a very twisty and challenging circuit with 17 turns in under 2.5 kilometers, and I think the fans are going to have great visibility wherever they are." The course runs under the canopy roof of the historic Tempelhof Airport Terminal from Turn 13 to Turn 14 and then again during Turn 17. The circuit first took place on the 23rd of May, 2015. It was initially won by Lucas Di Grassi. However, a technical infringement discovered in post-race checks led to his disqualification, with the win being awarded to Dragon Racing driver Jerome D'Ambrosio. Owing to the Tempelhof Airport building's usage as a temporary refugee shelter, the Berlin ePrix was moved to the Berlin Street Circuit, a layout created specifically for Formula E along the Karl-Marx-Allee to the west of Alexanderplatz. The 2016-17 season calendar listed Berlin as a host city, but did not specify which circuit was to be used. In January 2017, it was confirmed that the race would return to Tempelhof. In March 2017, it was announced that the circuit layout was completely revamped. The circuit hosted the 2017 Berlin ePrix, which became a double-header round after the cancellation of the Brussels ePrix, which took place on the 10 to 11 June. The two races were won by Mahindra driver Felix Rosenqvist, his first in the series, and Renault Dams driver Sebastian Buemi. After the 2019-20 season was temporarily suspended and several rounds were cancelled due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the FIA announced that the season would conclude in early August with 3 double-header events in Tempelhof, using a different configuration of the circuit for each event. The first 2 races were held on August 5 to 6, 2020, on a reverse configuration of the track. The next 2 races took place on August 8 to 9th, with the normal circuit being used. The third and final doubleheader was held on August 12 to 13th, on an extended version of the track featuring several more turns. Tokyo Street Circuit. The Tokyo Street Circuit is a 2.575 kilometers (1.600 miles) street circuit located around the Tokyo International Exhibition Center in the Japanese capital that hosts the Tokyo ePrix, a round of the Formula E Electric Formula Racing Series. The inaugural edition in 2024 became the first international championship street race to be hosted on closed public roads in the city. The Tokyo Street Circuit was unveiled on October 25, 2023, representing the first time the electric category will compete in Japan. The event has been seen as a way to achieve the city's goal of ensuring that all new cars are gasoline-free by 2030, with City Governor Yuriko Koike stating that the championships will provide impetus to spread the zero-emission vehicles. The circuit takes places around the Tokyo Big Sight Convention Center. Valencia Circuit. The circuit has been used by Formula E as a pre-season testing venue since 2017, with the exception of 2024. On the 28th of January, 2021, it was announced that the circuit would host the Valencia ePrix as the 5th and 6th round of the 2020-21 Formula E World Championship, to be held on the 24th of April, 2021, replacing the cancelled Paris ePrix. It was the first time an eprix has been held on a permanent race circuit, albeit on a unique configuration. One of the differences between the normal track for pre-season testing and the track used for the race was the installation of a temporary chicane in the start-finish straight. The track then turns right immediately after the exit of Turn 8. In October 2024, flooding in the area forced pre-season testing to be relocated to the Circuito del Jarama near Madrid on 5 to 8 November 2024. And for the final track we have Zurich Street Circuit. The Zurich Street Circuit was a street circuit located in Zurich, Switzerland, used for the Zurich eprix of the Formula E Championship, and held its first race, as well as the first Swiss motor race since 1954, the 2018 Zurich eprix on the 10th of June, 2018. Preparations for a Formula E race in Switzerland commenced in March 2015, when the Council of States backed a motion by the National Council of Fatih Derder to exempt electric car racing from a long-standing ban on motor racing. The motion was adopted by the Federal Council in December, allowing electric vehicles to race in Switzerland starting from the 1st of April, 2016, pending authorization from local authorities with regards to the maximum speeds allowed. Subsequently, on the 21st of September, 2017, the Zurich eprix was then announced to be added to the calendar of the 2017-18 Formula E Championship. The final track design was revealed on the 3rd of April, 2018. The circuit was a 2.465 kilometers, 1.532 miles long track with 11 turns, and was designed by the CEO of Immobil Roger Tognella and his son Andren by using Google Earth on their home computer, unlike most circuits. The track featured a mix of surfaces, with asphalt and concrete, and crosses several tramlines, some of which were filled for the event. In addition, it also featured a mixed surface pit lane, with half the pit lane having cobblestones on the surface, which resulted in teams running adapted software for the pit limiter, due to the reduced speed limit of 30 km per hour and 19 miles per hour. That's it for this video. Subscribe please. It would encourage me to make more vids like this. Bye guys, and thanks for watching.